and not just cross our fingers that more bad things won't happen. So, thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay, Brian
Conradi, yes.
Okay.
Hello, yes. Live off of 1492 down Shade Road, off of Shade Road. My wife and I do. Want to take just a second to say that our hearts go out to the victims of the accident last week. Our thoughts are with you guys and as neighbors. And as powers that be in the town, it's kind of incumbent upon everyone to address what can be done in light of an accident like this, a tragedy like this, to make sure it doesn't happen again. So that's completely understandable. I guess what I'd like to make sure we talk about is the idea of permanently closing the low water bridge, rerouting it, or putting in a large, more convenient bridge across. I know that the city council passed a plan to that calls for a rerouted crossing or a bridge, and I think what I'd like to make sure that this group understands is that, having talked to several of our neighbors recently over the last several days, it's important that you all know that that is that low water bridge, that crossing across the Blanco, I think several people have mentioned in Wimberley, etc., is a part of our neighborhood that brings joy into our daily lives. It's a fundamental character of our neighborhood back there throughout 1492. And the idea of permanently closing, rerouting, or putting in a large bridge is something that I think everyone I've spoken to, I'm sure there's different opinions, but most of the people back in 1492, as far as I can tell, would be strongly opposed to something along those lines. We really want to keep the character of our neighborhood there. Now, measures that would help keep things safer, absolutely. But the idea of closing the low water bridge or rerouting, putting a large bridge through there would be really devastating to the character of our neighborhood and take away that little bit of what makes Wimberley special in that respect right there. So I hope that the board and the council will reconsider the master plan, that aspect of the master plan that calls for a rerouting or a new bridge there, and certainly won't consider closing down of the low water bridge. It's a fundamental part of what so many of us came here for in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next up, Sarah Dishman.
Dr. Harlow, I'm very sorry for what happened. I've spoken with Jerry Phillips quite a bit over the past few days. I have been a resident of 1492. My family's been residents of 1492 and River Road for over 100 years. I own property off of 1492 and also on River Road. I use that stretch, the low water crossing, multiple times a day, going to and from town. Closing off the low water crossing because of the accident was a knee-jerk reaction, simply. When there's a tragic accident on 290, they close it down for the investigation. When there's a tragic accident on 21, on 70, well, they close it for the investigation, then they reopen it. Usually they do things like they have more patrol, or they employ measures like speed bumps, like Mr. Phillips asked for after his first accident in 22, when he wrote all the council members requesting speed enforcement and speed bumps. He even offered to pay for those speed bumps to the mayor and the council members. What he got instead was thoughts and prayers. He literally got ignored once his accident was over. 4 surgeries later, probably more to come. Now another member of his family has been tragically hit, along with Dr. Harlow's wife. So maybe this is enough to actually do something about enforcement. Presence makes a difference. When you know someone's running speed patrol when they're going up and down the road, like Jerry and I have asked for over and over and over for River Road in 1492, it does make a difference. 1492 and River Road are used as a thoroughfare to get to Cedar X Mesa, to get to Wayside Drive, to all those other neighborhoods that have expanded over the years. The people that use those and go so fast, they don't care about the residents that live along those. When I first moved back here, I used to run on those roads myself with my dog, even with my 22-year-old daughter when she was an infant. I couldn't imagine running on that road in this day and age with the way traffic is. But we have pled to sheriff deputies, to constables, in person, the ones that are on duty here in the community. They don't do anything. Mr. Fields wrote every city council member and the mayor after his horrible accident, pleading for enforcement, pleading for speed bumps. He got thoughts and prayers. Maybe the second accident's enough that instead of using all of this tax income that you're getting from sales in the community, instead of buying all these properties and doing all this other stuff, you could put that money into some enforcement. Maybe even hire another city marshal. It's not rocket science. Please.
Thank you, sir. Federica Kirby?
Hi, thank you again for this opportunity to be able to share our thoughts on this. I live on 1492. Our entrance is directly on 1492, just up the hill back from the blind curve where the tragic accident occurred last week. And like everyone else here, this has been weighing on me and thoughts and things. I have to admit it's been much more peaceful outside my property the last few days with it closed. But I totally agree with what was said about it being a character of our neighborhood. And 1492, although it's a county road, is a neighborhood. There are a lot of homes there, a lot of people who want to be able to step outside of their property walking, or to just, I can't even go for a walk hardly to get to Shade Road, and I am one property away from there because I can't walk on the road. So I'm grateful that you are looking at this. I would be in support of multiple stop signs if that's what's needed. For us, I drive it every day, and it'll slow us down too, but I would much rather that than the people that I hear and I see racing down the road all the time. I think stop signs might help. Rumble strips at the approach to the blind curve, what do you call them, the speed bumps. Also, some combination of those things to just force those who don't want to follow the signs that are already there to follow the rules. Because really 1492 in that area, I think it deserves to retain the charm that it has and not become a big wide road with bridges and overpasses and things and just turn it into another main thoroughfare. I think it has a role there. And I think we need to keep in mind why so many people are on that road and look at a bigger picture also to consider what can be changed also elsewhere to improve the situation that we have on 1492, because we really do not want this ever to happen to anyone again. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Dan Justice?
I'll pass, I agree with what's already been said.
Okay. Pam Zerly?
It's sibling. We live on River Road, out further, closer to Cedar Oak Mesa, and obviously use 1492 on a daily basis. You get to San Marcos, you get to our church. Going through town, and this is something I think you need to consider, all of us are going to now have to start going through town. It took us an extra 10 minutes every time we come through town until we get this afternoon to come here, and it was like an extra 10 or 15 minutes by the time you sit for the traffic in downtown. And it's going to increase your traffic downtown if you close it, because we all have to make that long detour out around. We need a cutoff to Ranch Road 12 as you head towards San Marcos. That's a lot of the traffic that comes into town are people going to and from work in San Marcos and beyond. the aesthetics of this, I agree with everyone who's spoken up. Yes, it's a beautiful drive, I enjoy it. There are days when I make maybe 2 trips to our church just in one day, and you do that multiple times a week, and then you start adding that time together. I can't even imagine what it would be like if it stays closed. It has been so inconvenient. And yes, it is hard to walk on it. We try to walk even from the church around to our, a different part of the property, and you can't walk on the road. So that needs to be addressed. That and perhaps another cutoff over to the highway, so that that isn't the highway. But thank you for listening to everybody.
Thank you very much. Jeffrey, is it Hall? Sorry about that.
That's all right. First, thanks for answering me. Sorry about the delay. I agree with everyone else right now. You know, shutting it down was a knee-jerk reaction. There are so many other things. Proper signage up there, just saying that a dangerous curve's ahead. I think everybody who's driven that road or lives in that area has at one time or another run into another car that's coming the wrong way and in the wrong lane. So we've all run into that and almost got hit multiple times. But that doesn't mean you close it down, put the proper signage, slow people down, add a sidewalk on the outside of that, because there are a lot of people that walk that road. I walk it myself down to the river, and I live up off of Wimberley Estates. So it's a good mile walk down, mile walk back. It's great exercise, but you've really got to be careful walking up and down that road. So just widening it, putting it, getting some more guardrail, getting some barriers in place behind that, because people are going to slide around there. That guardrail down there has been hit multiple times in the past 2 or 3 years. But closing it down, I don't think is the proper thing to do. I get it for right now, but and we have it closed whenever it floods over, sometimes for a week, sometimes for 2 weeks, and it really, really puts people out trying to go through, and it expands the traffic going through town. Not just from our side, but from the River Road side. We have to go the whole way around to get back towards San Marcos. So all I gotta say is just add some more signage, slow people down a little bit. I don't know about the stop signs, but speed bumps, or something similar, and add a walking path of some sort around some of those areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Daniel?
So my name is Joel Daniel. My wife and I have a place on East Blanco Bend, so we are not just neighbors but friends with Bob and Allison, and we're just shocked and taken aback by this tragedy also. But I am here to speak today on keeping the road open. This is sort of redundant. A lot of this has been covered, but specifically what we would like to see is slow people down, coming not just down the road, but up the road also, would be, on a stop sign on either east or west Blanco Bend. Doesn't need to be on both, obviously. 100 feet in each direction, a sign saying stop sign coming, so people know that. And then rumble strips are for speed bumps, which I think are far overdue. At least coming down the road. I'd like to see it coming up too, so it just keeps people going slow. And then, other mitigations, you guys are the experts here, but, things to keep big trucks out and stuff like that of the road, because that's another issue that's not actually being addressed here. As far as, the rumors about you guys looking at a new road to go across the river, I don't know anything about building a bridge across the river, but quite frankly, my position is that, like when they were looking at upgrading the electrical system a few years back, the simplest, cheapest, most efficient way is to use the existing roadway. So I would prefer to see something done with 1492 And I don't know what that is. You know, maybe it's another low water crossing, so people are, you know, it's one way in each direction. Just throwing things out there versus building a new bridge with a road. And, you know, I'll just say this, it looks like where you guys are looking at putting that thing, it probably will impact my property. So build in a little lawyer time, you know, if you're gonna go that direction. So, not a threat, I mean, you know, just say it, you know, so. But anyway, thank you for your time. What you guys do is really important. This is incredibly important. And, you know, as Bob said, something has to change here. So, you know, rather than impact the daily lives of hundreds of people, let's do some things that are simple, cheap, efficient, and are known to work the world over, like rumble strips and stop signs. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joe. Sally Hawkins?
Hi, I'm Sally. My family has lived on Shade Road for almost 40 years. I was not allowed to ride or bike on 1492, and neither are my children. But I'm mostly here to tell you that closing the bridge is not a solution for increasing safety on 1492. In fact, closing the bridge would create more danger. Closing the bridge does not slow the hundreds of residents or our guests, nor the patrons of several commercial operations. There's major tourist destinations, the zip line, there's a resort, countless Airbnb vacation rentals. There are hundreds of non-resident drivers to destinations on 1492 every day, and closing the bridge does not encourage them to drive slower or safer. Closing the bridge does not address safety for pedestrians, cyclists, or drivers either. In turn, sorry, I'm nervous. Thank you for having me.
It's
I
okay.
appreciate this opportunity. Closing the bridge would put us all in harm's way. The time it would take for EMS to access our homes or travel to emergency services would increase exponentially. And we chose our neighborhood for proximity to these services and safety. And like Mr. Conradi said, we chose this route to the bridge and our neighborhood for our lifestyle. Like, to take that away would, it would just be as a property owner, a disservice. You know, closing the bridge just simply is not a solution for safety. I think everyone agrees that 1492 needs a shoulder. It has for at least 40 years. Ask me how I know. I know that's expensive and budgets are complicated, but it is the right thing to do. And I've never heard about this other rerouting or bridge idea, but certainly a shoulder would be less expensive than that. But until that can happen, please know that the new stop sign at Chaparral in 1492 is working to slow drivers. It really is. And but that's far from some of the most dangerous spots. I love Beverly's idea. Put them everywhere. We don't care. I would love to see one at Blanco Bend East and West, a four-way stop there. Mr. Harris had that great idea. That is where the accident happened, and it's at the bottom of a blind hill, and signage alerting people to a stop down there would work wonders. And I live on Shade Road, and the entrance there also has a blind curve, and it's a one-lane entrance. I don't know why we don't have one already. Anyways, thank you for hearing me and all that you do for our community. You know, we all deeply care about those involved, and I can tell you that is a real tragic accident with a hopeful, happy ending still, but there have been countless other accidents in my lifetime, and none of them have to do with the bridge. It's true. So, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Tracy Sell?
Hi, thank you for allowing us to speak our names and what we do and things. We really appreciate having this meeting because this meeting's been needing to happen for a long time. I live on that curve, my driveway goes directly up from that guardrail. And there's accidents almost every single weekend. People drive off, they don't call EMS, they get hurt all the time. But I've lived on that property for 30 years, and I would say countless times I've called 911, I walk down the driveway to see who's hurt. It's terrible, and I hear the crashes, and this is a terrible, tragic thing. It is horrid. This has been needing to be happening for a long time. I'm not a proponent of the bridge being closed. The bridge has its own problems also about trucks and things getting stuck all the time. What I see, and I'm not a transportation expert either, what I see, because I drive down that driveway, is there's not a culvert or anything on there when you're going towards the river on the right. The road is washing out all the time. So if you're coming down towards the river, you're gonna start to scoot towards the other side into the other lane. Also, if it's damp at all, the road is very slick and it's banked into the guardrail. So if you press on the brake, you're gonna slide right into the guardrail and have a wreck. They took out a 200-year-old tree, I don't know, a few years back because people kept taking the tree. Then they had to put in berms, people are still having wrecks. The road needs to be something changed. I agree with the stop signs, I think it's a great idea. I do not like rumble strips because I'm gonna have to hear that. That's gonna be a highlight for me. I do not want to hear that. I think speed bumps would work. You do one speed bump and then like 10 feet away, you do another speed bump, specifically going down the hill for sure. I think the road could be straightened, but not straightened, but slightly curved, a little bit less direct. And that would help. I like the four-way stop idea. Again, my driveway is right there. And I get hit almost every single time I pull out. I stop, I roll my window down, I listen, I look, I can't see around the corner, and then I just have to floor it. And Bob knows, he's seen me trying to get out there, and sometimes there's somebody right behind me, and it scares the hell out of me. Anyway, I think something needs to be done. I don't really think it needs to be closed, but it needs serious revamping on the curve of road work. Maybe the concrete there needs to be like graded differently so it's rougher. I don't know. They do different things. Anyway, that's my opinion. Thank you for listening to people. I think this is just, it's time that we do something about specifically that road, not just the curve, but like they said, all the other places that people have accidents on that road for people flying by. People are gonna still do it unless you stop. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Kathy, Montgomery?
Am I last? Am I already last? I asked to be last, y'all, just on purpose, kind of selfish. You're behind me? I got one more? All right, I'm Kathy Montgomery. I live on Wayside Drive, but I also am the operations director at Wimberley MS. I was there for every accident, autoped that we've had on 1492, unfortunately, I guess, or fortunately, because I've got a lot of experience. But I've also been at all the other accidents on all the other roads. So while, and the last thing, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, but Tracy, yes, there have been a lot of accidents right in front of your house, whether they call us or not. But there's also tons of accidents. We've had fatalities on Green Acres. I think everybody in this room is in consensus of let's not shut the road. That's not the best thing to do. And I might step on toes of fire department and others in here. The speed humps, I'm telling you, I drove the ambulance with Steve in it, and it's St. Mark's on Ridge Road 12. So we drove 12 south to get to San Marcos to 35 to get to Kyle, because that's a trauma center, right? At St. Mark's, right before SMA, there's a horrible spot in the road. And let me tell you what, I hit that going code 3. And the scream that came out of him in the back of that truck and me going, sorry, because I didn't see that rough spot in the road. Further down past SMA, there's a bad spot, but you see it. And I was told there's a simple fix for that, just fix the road. Okay, well, fixing a road, widening a road, that's money. So what's everybody to do, right? It just takes money, just fix the road, widen the road. Sidewalks, fantastic, okay? I don't think I've ever been on an accident where somebody's been hit on the sidewalk. We've had accidents with bicycles on gravel paths, but never a sidewalk, not yet. speed pillows, Carol, please don't hate me, but would be much easier on my vehicle than a speed hump. A speed hump, I'm telling you, if I have a broken body, a broken leg, a broken something in the back of that truck, the amount that I have to stop and slow down to go over it. If you think riding in the back of an ambulance is a fun trip, get in touch with me and I'll take you for a fast code 3 drive. Strapped to the back of that stretcher that has a very hard cushion on it, it's not comfortable. I don't know why, and I've been a patient, I don't know why anybody wants to ride in the back of an ambulance. It's riding in the bed of a pickup truck. So I would be happy with the speed cushion, but I don't know if that's gonna slow people down enough. And I think the stop signs, you can have them, but I can tell you personally, I drive that road all the time, and at nighttime, if there's nobody coming, I'm not stopping at it. Shame on me, right? Shame on me, not as a professional, as a citizen, I wear two hats, right? So, but I see there's nobody coming, so how are you gonna enforce it? You can put 500, no, but you can put 500, my point is, you can put 500 stop signs along the road, but people are still gonna be people.
But you shot
There's
this
still
down
gonna be
2
a-
years ago. What do you want to do?
I didn't shoot down stop
Yeah,
signs.
you
I
shot
did-
down speed bumps.
speed humps.
I've seen you guys, you've gone down the road 2 times in about 2 years. I live on that road. I
I
never
go
see
on it
it.
every day, every single day I drive.
Well, on emergency, on a call.
You know,
I don't wanna argue, yeah, that's not what this is about. This is about fixing the problem of the road, whether it's widening the road, I'm for it, but Ranch Road 12 North, it's, if any of you are familiar with Ranch Road 12 North by, oh God, Carol, just past One Man Mountain Road.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Am I over? The grade, we had fatality after fatality, and once DPS came and fixed the grade, we didn't have that sliding problem. So,
thank you for your.
yeah, thank you.
Charles Deems?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I own a property at 501 County Road 1492. My son lives there and he's working today. So, you know, I am not in favor of closing the road. I think something needs to be done. You guys are way smarter at this than the rest of everybody else in the room. And we look to you for that direction. But the big concern that I have is with emergency services. You know, market day's getting ready to start again. If they have a fire call and they have to go Ranch Road 12 toward San Marcos, there is no place to go. And you know, I'm not a proponent of speed bumps or any of that kind of more stop signs. I think the stop sign on Chaparral has helped. I've driven that road numerous times.
Yes.
We looked at purchasing a property on Shade Lane when we first moved here, and didn't buy that because I didn't like the access getting in there. It's just really, it's scary. And every time I come out of the driveway of the property that we own, I'm scared that somebody's gonna get me. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Can I just ask one question? I know I spoke, but who, the Google Maps and the Apple Maps doesn't have you go that way? If y'all could just keep it that way forever, then you don't have the big trucks. I don't know who did that.
It was a long, it's still a work in
Yeah,
progress.
whoever did that, because it doesn't,
Years.
you don't get the option to go that way. So I think that would fix your big truck problem, that, you know, all the big trucks that go off the road, because it takes you the long way. That might be an option just to help the big trucks. Could I try to do it?
Jim Ringelman?
Well, thanks for the opportunity to comment. My wife and I live at 1020 County Road 1492, which is the intersection of Chaparral. So our driveway is between the 2 new stop signs. We've had the opportunity to observe several hundred times the behavior of people on that road, and I have to tell you, it's not great. Most people come to a rolling stop, but about 1 in 20 blow through it. They don't even tap their brake. That is breathtaking when that happens. I wish I had a ticket book, but I don't think my truck is fast enough to catch something. My wife and I would not want to see the crossing closed. We don't think that's the solution. I just have concerns that those same people that blow through are the ones that cause the kind of tragic accident we just saw. And so, yeah, the vast majority of people will stop at stop signs, but I worry about that one. So I really wish we had more enforcement there. I think ultimately that's gonna be the solution to this thing. I know it's expensive. I know, there are all kinds of things related to that. I'm not opposed to infrastructure. Rumble strips, humps, I don't really care. Stop signs, that's fine. I just don't think it's gonna be a solution for the troublemakers that blow through these intersections. And so please take that into consideration. If we could find a way to do some more enforcement, maybe in addition to infrastructure stuff, that'd be great. But or issue me a ticket book and a very fast car. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputize you.
Last one, Jeff Nichols.
Hello, my name is Jeff Nichols. My wife and I live at 112 West Blanco Bend Drive, and I actually pulled up to the accident before the emergency services arrived the other day. My heart goes out to Bob, your wife. I'm just one more voice echoing that this is a speeding problem, this is a traffic problem and a pedestrian problem. Stop signs, speed bumps, I'm for all of those things. And the only thing I would add to the conversation is just act quickly. Every day that this goes on, more accidents are going to happen. And I just ask for efficiency, and I ask for it to happen quickly. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, that's the end of our requests for citizen communication. Moving on to item number 4, approval of the minutes from December 11th. Anybody make a motion to approve or? Motion to approve. Okay. All in favor? Yeah? Okay. Okay, we're gonna move straight into item number 6, discussion and possible action. 6.1. Discuss and consider possible action for 1492, which, to explain a few things, it was already on the agenda. It wasn't because of the accident. So we have been spending a lot of time talking about 1492 and what we can do. And it's unfortunate that the last accident happened and people were seriously injured. So improvements, rumble strips, speed humps, the little dimple deals glue down on the ground. Any thoughts, board members? You know what? I'm going to give Bob a shot here to say a few things, if you would like to, Bob.
Sure. Well, I was outside and I saw the group standing by the guardrail, and I turned away and I heard the truck hit the guardrail, and then I heard the guy try to speed off. And I saw somebody laying in the road and I ran over to it, and it was my wife. And she was bleeding, the road had blood on it, and for a while I thought she was gone, and I didn't know what to do. I was kind of freaked out in shock, and then the EMS guys came and they got her on board, and then the ambulance, and headed to the hospital, and I followed them. And so I know there's charm on the low water crossing, and it's fun to drive over the river for visitors and everything, but I mean, I live right there, just like Tracy, and Vance and the others that are right there at the bottom of that hill. And something's got to change, something needs to change, and we've talked about speed bumps, speed humps, rumble strips, reflectors down the middle that would light up at night when your headlight, and something needs to change, because like's been said, whenever the road is a little damp, people slide off into that guardrail, you know, and before the guardrail was there, they would slide into their yard, and then they built the berm, and then they'd hit the berm, and now they got the guardrail, and they hit the guardrail, but that doesn't stop what's going on coming down that hill. It's just like to keep it out of somebody's, you know, house or their front yard. And so you know, I know that the city runs on tax money, and, you know, I don't know if the county can chip in. I mean, you know, it's called County Road 1492, but it's a city road. You know, it's a city road. It's not a county road. The county doesn't do the maintenance. And the other side of that is, you know, all the truck traffic and the trucks getting stuck, the semis trying to cross and then trying to back up the hill because the Google Maps says they can, you know, Maps said I can go this way. That's what they show me when I go out to talk to them. And so there's multiple things that could be done to make things better. And, you know, my wife is, you know, she's up in the ICU on a ventilator, and she has multiple fractures from her skull down to her lumbar spine. And, I mean, you know, if it was your family member, I mean, you'd be, you know, you'd want something done. You wouldn't want just, you know, we're gonna look at it. I mean, there's a history of things on the bridge and on that curve. And I think it's time that, you know, it's a rational, not a real heavy emotional discussion, that something needs to be implemented. And that's what I'd like to add to the conversation. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing, Bob. Prayers go out to you and your wife. Okay. Nathan, do you have any info on what's been going on, what the city's been doing so far?
I do. So the past 2 months, we've been soliciting quotes for the road buttons. So basically, road buttons, rumble strips, type things that you glue on. You roll over them, they alert you that that curve is coming up. So we were looking at 2 patches of those. 1 patch before you come up to that curve, another patch before it goes down into the low water crossing, and also around 750 linear feet from the curve going down to the low water crossing, reflectors down the middle for you know, to be able to see the center line at night. So I have quotes for those. So we're ready to go on those. It's around $5,000. We have the budget for it, and we can get them started, you know, as soon as possible.
That doesn't actually slow anybody down though.
That's also what we were thinking. We did meet with our city engineer this morning to discuss the speed bumps in lieu of this, and they're writing up a formal recommendation for us that we would, you know, take to city council on Thursday. There's an agenda item on city council for Thursday, but they're writing up a formal recommendation that would include some combination of rumble strips to alert you of the speed hump to slow you down. And then additional signage, maybe even, you know, the blinking lighted signage of, you know, dangerous curve ahead.
Thank you.
Any discussion on stop signs?
We didn't discuss stop signs this morning, but that is an option as well.
The stop signs that are there now at Chaparral were kind of a test. Are people paying attention to them? You know, the majority of the responses are they're just blowing through it, right?
That argument, though, is just remove all stop signs.
Yeah.
That doesn't hold water.
The majority of the people do the right thing, right? Mm-hmm. It's the bad eggs out there that think that they can get away with it, and then people get hurt.
Then the enforcement comes in.
Yeah, constable's
so a formula
office.
of all of this.
Yeah.
We got a general repair on that road. I mean, that curve has a huge gully. It's just the road is washed out.
1492 is a mess. It always has been. It's dangerous. It gets a lot of traffic, and that's not going to slow down. I think everybody can agree that as Wimberley grows, Wayside grows, 1492 gets more traffic. So the feedback has been really, really good. We need more painted lines down the road to start with. Things that we can do like now, right? versus a year or two from now, sidewalks or whatever else, rumble strips, buttons. Now, the speed humps have been turned down in the past.
By who?
It was brought to our attention, emergency services would have a hard time with it.
They need to get over it.
So,
Exactly.
if you look at the historic district in San Marcos, they're absolutely everywhere. That curve already is a 15-mile-an-hour curve. When, in her argument, she's referencing Ranch Road 12 that is 60 miles an hour. You're not gonna go 60 miles an hour on that curve on River Road. It's 15 miles an hour.
It's a recommended 15 mile an hour?
Yeah.
Well, but you're not gonna go 60 miles an hour if you're EMS in an ambulance with a patient in the back on code 3. You literally probably can't do it.
No, it's-
So, put the speed bumps in, it's already a 15-mile-an-hour curve.
The idea is to catch it before the curve. So the stretch from Chaparral down to the curve is kind of the hot spot, right?
I agree.
That's-
I live on that stretch.
Build
If you
up.
had a stop sign at Shade Road, that
No,
would be
excuse
sort of
me,
in between.
this is an open discussion, this is for the board to meet. This is for the board to meet, so let them deliberate and communicate. This isn't a workshop or a town hall, so let them deliberate, please.
So we probably need to make a motion to address this in the next meeting with plan on, from the engineers on their recommendations for, speed humps or.
They're gonna give us something by Thursday, and we're gonna take that to city council to let them look at that and
Can I
decide
ask-
what they'd like to do.
Is it too late to incorporate some additional measures into what they could
No,
potentially look
you
at?
guys go right ahead. If you'd like to do that, you're more than welcome to do that.
One thing that I think could potentially help slow people down is delineators, those white sticks down the middle of the road. And even better than that would be perhaps a concrete planter in the middle of the road. That would.
Yeah, I like it.
Something that would keep cars from crossing over. So I think delineators might be a start. I know it's narrow, potentially some sort of concrete planter, again, like in San Marcos. And I think that speed humps are disliked by law enforcement, but they won't have to respond as frequently to accidents if we have speed bumps to keep people from getting in accidents. So I think that that's something that the engineers should consider.
Go ahead, Bill.
We had talked, you know, a couple of times about the road buttons, and you said that's ready to go, right? I'd kind of like to see this go in two ways. The one being, you know, what can we do within the next week or so, and make those decisions, and then long term, you know, starting to look at widening that. But I think I got pushed over the edge this week and even today hearing people about the speed bumps. I'd always been kind of opposed to that because we were always told that that was, you know, the issue with emergency services. But I think I'm kind of to the point where in that particular location, I'm feeling like that might be a critical thing at this point.
I agree. I mean, what else can you do? Certain individuals don't abide by what we're trying to do to make the area safe and control speed. You gotta kind of do some drastic measures every once in a while, unfortunately. And, you know, you go around the room and, you know, you ask people their opinion. I mean, everybody's tired of it. 1492 and so many problems with it. So I'm with y'all on getting with the engineer on seeing what they recommend on some speed humps and just see what they have to say about it.
And I wouldn't be averse to another stop sign now.
Yeah.
I mean, long-term with traffic circles, is that road appropriate for traffic circles? Because that's just half of that.
Yeah, there's not enough room. There's not enough room.
I'd be curious to know from the city staff, like, what are the chances of actually doing substantial work on the road to make it a bit wider, potentially incorporate a pedestrian lane that's protected from the vehicles, because people are gonna continue to ride their bikes and walk down there regardless of if there's occasional terrible accident. So I don't have a good sense for how far out of like reality that is. And the same question goes for enforcement, because I agree enforcement is, ideal, but we don't have a cop, so.
But you know, if you had enforcement, you could make a lot of money on tickets, trust me. I watch people rip through that stop sign, this is like a cash cow right there. Set somebody right in their driveway.
Okay.
Right in my driveway, they can park there for all I care. Put it on like, used to put a cop there on Chaparral Drive, they pay for their salary in 3 days.
I agree. I think it's been a reoccurring conversation here. And then, occasionally there'll be a constable at, the Methodist church more or less, but it's not consistent. And,
And I've seen him down there, and what does he do? They're not swinging down there.
but does my question kind of like make sense? I don't know at what point we're just talking in fairyland versus realistic options.
Sure. But that would be a really big project to add to widen that shoulder. You're talking about having the surveys up and down the road. We gotta determine where exactly our right of way is and whether we have the room for it, and where the drainage is, because there's drainage ditches on both sides. So we can get into a pretty expensive project that right now, obviously, we don't have it budgeted for a big project like that.
Let's concentrate on getting the speeders under control, and then we can, that in itself will help pedestrians also. Let's keep focus on that. You guys got it under control, and let's just keep on moving with that portion of it.
Do you think, in light of what just recently happened, even though, the constable says, their office says, those are city ordinances and we're not gonna enforce those, speeding and stuff like that, or ticketing people that get stuck on the bridge? I mean, is there any more flexibility from them in light of what's recently happened, or is, that's the policy? Has anybody asked, or is it worth pursuing and talking with them again?
Marshall?
The no through trucks, that is a city ordinance that they, as of last time we spoke with them months and months ago, it's something that they won't enforce. But the speeding, they have been, and I think they've had a constable up there. When was that, Tim?
I can't remember when it was, but I know they've stopped people before, and they've given them warnings and tried to tell them, hey, please slow down. Not just on 1492, but on Flight Acres and other places as well. And it's the people that are coming from there are the ones that they're stopping, the residents. So that's what the constables told me, which was not Mr. Montague.
Then they need to slow down, the residents.
Right, and then
slow down too.
I can bring that up with them again to look at it again. I mean, I think they're there. They may not be there all the time, but they have other things to do. But we can, stress that to have them look at that area and all the other areas within
when
the
I
community.
spoke to him about this, he told me that there wasn't enough room on the side of the road to put a squad car where the radar was. And so they were gonna request a couple of motorcycle guys from the county, or San Marcos, because they can sit there because their footprint's smaller. And, it would just seem like there's so much growth here, and the taxes have gone up, that they might be able to loan a couple of officers from time to time, just as a, if you see it every so often, it might put thought in your mind you shouldn't do it, maybe just a deterrent.
So it's always good to ask them see what they can do more. I think we all agree with that.
Could I, if we do make a motion, could it be multi-tiered to where we suggest immediate action on those things that can be done within the budget, and to keep the bridge closed until they're done?
No.
Then second, to continue looking at more substantive infrastructure improvements as part of our road grading system, and putting 1492 potentially closer to the top of the list. And third, to encourage the council to talk seriously with the county about speed enforcement, both on 1492, Clyde Acres, and wherever else are the real problem spots. It seems to me like if we just do the immediate fixes, which I think are valuable, it's not going to solve the long-term problem of people who ignore the law.
Yeah. I don't think a motion needs to be made. I think they're on top of it already. They've already had a discussion with the council and the engineers, and you know, they're going to be talking about it obviously on Thursday and make a decision on releasing those funds so that we can get this done. So I trust that it's getting under control. So
I hear you. I don't know if it helps the council to have that from us.
To at least provide a consensus from the board.
It would help
Okay.
to have a motion with just a consensus from the board with the report to carry forward to council on Thursday.
Okay. Make a motion to,
I don't know if I can repeat what I just said.
I was just kind of writing down to you. I move that we ask the council to take immediate action on a plan including road buttons, or I should say, including but not limited to the road buttons that we had spoke about before, one or more stop signs, speed humps, and increased law enforcement.
I second that. All in favor?
Can we add delineators to that? It's those white sticks that you put in the middle of the road. And they're
Yeah, we'd have to
Yeah, okay.
take a look at it, because I'm not exactly.
They're like
If you-
skinny
if-
poles,
Ben,
but there's so
if-
many
if you
driveways
don't,
popping
we
out.
can
My
always
husband
come back and
looked
take
at
a
it.
look at that later on to
Okay,
possibly add
that could be something that we add to it later, but
We had a vote on it opening up the low water crossing.
that is not our decision.
Would you also put in there about rumble strips as well? Talking with the engineers, they're saying if we do speed humps or speed bumps, they normally have rumble strips in front of that to let you know that you're coming up, even though you have signage as well. So if you would add that to it, I think that would be a recommendation that would be worthwhile.
Okay. So should I guess?
You ready to go?
Sorry.
I move that we recommend to City Council immediate action on a plan including but not limited to road buttons, one or more stop signs, multiple speed humps, and rumble strips.
And law enforcement.
Oh, and increased law enforcement.
And reflectors.
Oh, that was the buttons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Buttons.
that was the-
All right, maybe.
You'll second it? Anybody opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So that concludes 6.1 on 1492 for the time being.
Well, but hold on. Is it worth making a motion to also recommend to the city council more substantial infrastructure improvements on the downhill curve? I mean, just to have it on the record? If the board supports it? Okay. I move that we as a board recommend the city council consider more substantial infrastructure improvements on the road at 1492 where the accident occurred, when, you know, for to be repaired in the future.
More substantial improvements mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of open-ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very.
Intentionally.
It keeps it open so that.
How about including, but not limited to, pavement improvement,
Drainage.
new drainage, Oh, I was thinking pavement improvements would be under that.
Okay.
Great. Sorry. Pavement improvements and widening.
Or we want to put a stop sign down there?
I
It's on
think
the
that,
other
yeah,
one.
that was something.
Okay.
So, you wanna rephrase that for us?
Yeah.
Sidewalks?
If you can get there.
It would be, have to be behind the guardrail.
Behind the guardrail, by the fire hydrant. That's direct.
Do we want to make that motion right now?
I don't see what harm it does to introduce the idea for the council.
To look at
To look
sidewalk
at, yeah.
installations down there on the curb, okay?
Okay, so am I making that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I make a motion that we approve the city council to consider future infrastructure improvements, including pavement improvements / grading, drainage, widening, and sidewalks.
Road striping?
And road striping.
You want a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Anybody opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So, I heard somebody say that the Google Maps showed that the road is closed or the bridge is closed,
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, I tried to, just the other day, going to San Marcos, I put it in and it shows red that way.
Okay,
If
so
you
I
could
would,
do that.
I would like to know how that occurred. Did somebody contact them just right after the accident, or is this what we've been working on all along?
Yeah, we've been working on it for a few months. Occasionally I'll sign in there and I'll make a report that the road's not closed, but
Before the accident,
that it's
just
dangerous.
after it shows red.
But I haven't sent our letter
It
yet.
doesn't even recommend going across the road.
Good, okay, well, we've been talking about that as a group.
Genius, whoever did it.
Moving on to 6.2. Okay. Discuss and consider possible action on Buttercup Lane road improvements. Thank you.
Thank you.
They don't care about Buttercup Lane?
I'll let them clear out.
What's up with that? I live on City Road 1492. But I'm in the state for Buttercup, I want to see what's up. I'm part of the community, you know, so I'm not gonna just, I must know what's on Buttercup, you know? I'm just gonna stay naked, unfortunately.
Huh?
Staying naked, unfortunately. That's not some guys. Not even keep me on the flag. Some of those guys.